Welcome to this week's briefing. Our topic today is Argentina and the decision of the government led by President Cristina Fernández de Kirchner this week to expropriate YPF, or the largest share of that company belonging to the Spanish company Repsol. This is a dramatic development. It had some trailing in government policy and announcements, but when it came it was quite dramatic. So I'm going to explore today with my colleague Jill Hedges, Senior Analyst for Latin America, some of the implications for domestic politics. What is the strategy here, if there is one? What does it mean for realizing the potential of Argentina's energy sector, and the implications for foreign investors more broadly in Argentina, but also a little beyond. So let's start with the first of these, Jill, the question of what's going on here as far as the government's concerned. Is this resource nationalism? Is this strategy? Or is this impulse and spontaneity?
I think there's a degree of all of those factors. Actually, resource nationalism is very much a plank of the government's platform. And there has been a strategy to try to increase government involvement in strategic sectors, especially oil. However, the way this decision was taken does appear to have more than a degree of impulse. There's been a lot of going back and forth about whether a stake would be acquired, whether a stake wouldn't be acquired, whether it would be a minority stake from a local shareholder, whether it would be part of Repsol. A lot of this appears to have to do really with the fact that the president is advised by a very closed circle of people who are not necessarily in agreement, and policy making comes down to a large degree to who she listened to last. Yes. And I think this is maybe the most worrying thing, is that it's really anybody's guess at any time, I think, whose voice will be heard.
And she's only just been re-elected. What is she, 4 months into her second term? So this doesn't augur well for predictable policy to come, does it?
I don't think we have much expectation of predictable policy. I think we will see probably a radicalization of the government's stance, but policy implies something maybe slightly more coherent than we're seeing. This is a government which, when her husband was governor of Santa Cruz province and she was in Congress, they both strongly supported the privatization of YPF in the 1990s, and now they've gone equally strongly in favor of renationalization of at least part of it. I think most people would probably agree that the privatization was not well handled and that it would have been preferable for the state to remain an active shareholder, but this particular method of doing this by announcing the expropriation without negotiating further with Repsol, I think is going to be a real concern for other investors.
So what does the reconfigured YPF look like, and what can we say about its likely performance? Is there any reason to believe, for example, that it's going to be better at its job than one or two of the oil companies in the region, like Pemex, like PDVSA?
I would say that probably the government is not in a position to add very much in terms of professional management. As of the moment, they've actually bodily evicted the Spanish directors at YPF. There will be more money from the company reinvested because they're going to stop dividend payments in favor of reinvestment, but I don't think the company produces sufficient resources to make the kind of investments that are really needed here. Wow. The state lacks those assets, and under these circumstances it's very difficult to see where you're going to get other investors to participate.
So any pleasure and political advantage that might come from taking a move like this, which seems to have been popular at home, will be tempered, will it not, by the realization that YPF isn't really able to do its job?
In the short term, it's a very popular move. In the slightly longer term, I think it really isn't going to be able to do anything to improve energy shortages. It aims to reduce imports of energy, which are eating into the trade surplus. But unless you can invest far more than I think the government can produce, then I don't see how it's going to do that. And I think, if anything, energy shortages will get worse. The other element is that if you stop dividend payments, the largest minority shareholder, which is the Argentine Peterson Group, has been paying off the debts that it acquired to buy that share through dividends. If you stop dividend payments, then there's a real possibility that they may go bankrupt and the state might have to acquire a further 25%.
Let's finally turn to the point of view of the Spaniards here. Repsol has just lost the outfit that was responsible for about 50% of their global production and about a third of their revenues. What can they do about it?
Very, very little in practice. If the reports are true that came out yesterday that they've been negotiating with Sinopec secretly to take over their assets, that doesn't help their case either, because it suggests that they weren't negotiating in very good faith with the government either, if that's so. But both Repsol and the Spanish government have threatened reprisals, but if Repsol takes this to the International Centre for the Settlement of Investment Disputes, all the other cases there that have been decided against Argentina are still pending. Nothing has been paid out. It's not a channel that's going to produce any real result. And the Spanish government can talk about reprisals, but to be honest, they're not in a position to do anything very substantive.
They're still heavily invested anyway in telecoms, in finance, so they can't walk away from that. That's not a response.
No, the Spanish banks are in real trouble at home. Yeah. They're doing very well in Latin America. Santander owns the second largest bank in Argentina, for instance, which is very profitable. There's no sensible business model that would allow them to withdraw. So it's going to be more of a rhetorical response, I think, than anything substantive.
Thanks very much, Jill. And thank you for watching this video briefing. We've been covering the events in Argentina this week extensively in our notes to clients. If you'd like to find out more about our analysis and indeed our advisory services, please look at our website. But for the meantime, bye for now.